For 27 years, the family of Tupac Shakur has been waiting for justice. We are here today to announce the arrest of 60-year-old Dwayne Keith Davis.
I'm standing here with my law enforcement partners in the Gilgo Task Force to announce the indictment of defendant Rex Andrew Heerman.
Lexi, have you watched the news of the girls, that what they do to their babies and what they go to jail?
Rather than divorce, it is believed that Brian Walsh dismembered Anna Walsh and discarded her body.
From an infamous serial killer to the accused murderer of a famed rapper, 2023 has seen a series of high-profile arrests. As it comes to a close, we're zeroing in on the 6 most shocking arrests made this year. We begin in Utah, where a once famed YouTuber is arrested and charged with child neglect after her emaciated 12-year-old son breaks free from duct tape shackles.
And he asked us to call the police. So he's very afraid. This kid has obviously been, I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds.
Ruby Frankie rose to fame as the head of the 8 Passengers YouTube channel that documented her life with her husband Kevin and their 6 children.
Eve has been amazingly well behaved for being in town.
But you yelled at me.
Shh! The fact that I yell at my kids is a secret. We don't want our viewers to know. That never happens. In my house, I never yell.
Ahead of her arrest, Frankie had already caught flack for her controversial parenting styles.
Online who hate me, who would like to cancel me, who would like to see me either burn in hell, as I have been told, or disappear off the face of the earth. And I'm not going anywhere.
But in August, Frankie's 12-year-old son broke free from a home in Ivins, Utah, and ran for help. The boy was emaciated and found with open wounds, along with duct tape around his wrists and ankles.
This kid has obviously been, I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds.
Once on the scene, investigators found other kids in similar condition. 2 kids were taken to the hospital for treatment. In all, 4 Frankie children were taken into custody by the Division of Child and Family Services. All of this happened in Ivins, Utah, in the home of Jody Hildebrandt, Ruby Frankie's business partner. Hildebrandt is the founder of a therapy group called Connections, and together, she and Frankie made videos for their platform.
Anytime you think, I want, fill in the blank, I don't care what it is, that is not love. Mm-hmm. Love is a gift that you offer because you have generated it inside yourself. And how do you generate love? Well, the only way to generate love is you use your agency to choose principles of truth.
Both Frankie and Hildebrandt were taken into custody and later charged with 6 counts of aggravated child abuse each. The case is still in the works, and so far, no trial dates are scheduled. Heading east now to Massachusetts, where at the start of the year, Brian Walsh was arrested for the murder of his wife, Anna. This only weeks after she went missing, and he allegedly made a handful of incriminating Google searches.
At 11:34 a.m., dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body.
39-year-old Anna Walsh was last seen on January 1st of this year. The same day, Brian Walsh made dozens of incriminating searches on his son's iPad. Days later, on January 4th, she was reported missing by her employers out of Washington, D.C. Investigators eventually recovered blood and a bloody knife in the basement of Walsh's Cohasset home, just south of Boston. Walsh was first arrested for misleading police in the investigation on January 8th, but was charged with his wife's murder 10 days later. Law&Crime Network was in the courtroom during his district court arraignment, as investigators publicly revealed his shocking search history for the first time.
At 6:25 a.m. on the 1st, how long for someone to be missing to inherit? At 6:34 a.m. on the 1st, can you throw away body parts? At 9:29 a.m., what does formaldehyde do? At 9:34 a.m. on the 1st, how long does DNA last? At 9:59 a.m., Can identification be made on partial remains?
You know, one of the things that stood out to me in the Brian Walsh case was the specificity that he was searching for.
Retired FBI agent Bobby Chacon tells Law and Crime Network Walsh's search history will be difficult for his defense to combat.
Those things are very damning for a defendant. It's very hard for defense to explain that away, particularly when the wife is missing. And so, yeah, I found that to be really unusual. I mean, in my experience, when you do uncover some of that, it's never that specific. It's usually general. And in that case, in the Brian Walsh case, you know, it was very, very specific to the missing person in that case, which is his wife. And so I thought when I read about those searches and how specific they were, I said, wow, this is really a really great piece of evidence for the prosecution.
On top of that, Walsh's search history is corroborated with video of him stocking up on cleaning supplies. Chacon says the pairing of physical evidence and that incriminating Google search history creates a win for prosecutors.
And I don't know how a defense team kind of explains all of that away when one thing matches up to another. And that's, for an investigator, that's the sweet spot, that's the home run. When your physical evidence at the crime scene corroborates the search history on the person's computer.
The case against Walsh was adjourned in November and pushed to January 2024 as both the prosecution and defense wait on DNA results from an independent lab. As of now, investigators have yet to recover Anna Walsh's body. Also in Massachusetts, the devastating case of Lindsay Clancy, the mother accused of murdering her 3 young children before jumping out of an upper floor window herself.
The emergency people come downstairs, all the police, firefighters, yells, she killed the kids.
It's a story Law and Crime Network covered from the start when, on January 24th, Clancy allegedly used exercise bands to strangle her 3 children, 5-year-old Cora, 3-year-old Dawson, and 8-month-old Callan. Clancy's husband, Patrick Clancy, returned to their Duxbury, Massachusetts home to find the shocking scene.
When he arrived home, the first thing he noticed was the silence. He did not see or hear the defendant or the children. He actually called her cell phone at 6:09 p.m. looking for them, and she did not answer. He went to their bedroom on the 2nd floor and the door was locked. He was able to open it, and when he looked inside, he saw blood on the floor in front of a full-length mirror and the window open. He immediately runs downstairs and into the backyard, where he finds the defendant laying on the ground. She appeared to have cuts on her wrists and neck, but he stated to 911 that those wounds were no longer bleeding. She was conscious. He called 911. During this time, he asked the defendant, "What did you do?" She responded to him, "I tried to kill myself and jumped out the window."
Cora and Dawson were pronounced dead at the hospital, while 8-month-old Callan died a week later after he was pronounced brain dead. Prosecutors argue Lindsay Clancy meticulously planned their murders.
On the night of the killings, Patrick Clancy was interviewed by the police at Beth Israel Deaconess Plymouth Hospital. He told the police that the defendant was having one of her best days. She was smiling and happy, and there was no indication that she was going to harm the kids. No one at all described her as acting like a zombie in the days leading up to the murder or on the day of the murders themselves.
Lindsay Clancy's defense has pushed back on this theory, saying at the time of the murders and suicide attempt, she was struggling with postpartum depression.
You have a woman who is obviously suffering from postpartum depression. And how do we know that? Well, we know that because in the weeks and months prior, she was in such a state. She was unable to emote. She was unable to feel. She had no ability to love, whether it was her husband or her kids, and she told Patrick, her husband, that. But she was in such a state as a result of the postpartum as well as the medication that she was on, that her husband had to have her mother and father and his mother and father basically stay at the house for weeks, perhaps a month prior, because she was unable to function.
In September, Clancy was indicted by a Plymouth County grand jury and was arraigned in October. She's pleaded not guilty in the case and has been hospitalized since the murders. In New Mexico, a different woman is accused of murdering her child, this time after allegedly throwing her newborn son away into a hospital trash can.
We discovered a dead baby in the bathroom.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. It came out of me and I didn't know what to do. Lexi, I told you about this. But I just asked you, baby, to tell me the truth. It was not crying or nothing.
Back in January, authorities say Alexi Treviso arrived at an Artesia, New Mexico hospital complaining of severe back pain. Mid-visit, Treviso waddled into the bathroom where officials say she gave birth and left behind a bloody massacre comparable with a horror movie scene.
I've never seen anything like that, and I pray to God I never see it again.
Say the toilet's right here where you're at, and then the sink's right here. It was like up this way, blood splatter.
What?
Like.
In your line of work, what would cause that kind of splatter?
I think something that got pulled out or ripped. Like if you rip something and blood just went, it was like once you see the photo, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's just.
So like you say, like rip, like something went like that?
Yeah, like when you rip something, or if you cut something and you go, like you swing your hand and blood just splatters.
Okay, so
that's how it looked.
So this was fresh to you?
Yes, this blood was fresh. You could even smell it.
We didn't know what this blood was from. We were a little concerned that maybe she had, known that we were gonna figure it out and that she might have harmed herself or something in the restroom, so the doc wanted to go check her, but obviously that wasn't the case.
Body camera video captured authorities confront Treviso, who at the time was a senior in high school.
Where did you put the baby at? Tell me the truth. In there.
517-836-460.
That came out in the toilet? You put it in the bag?
Yes.
In what bag? Why didn't you say anything to us? Do you want to get in trouble for this now? You could get in trouble for this, baby.
Mom, just give it time, okay?
I'm sorry about this, but in terms of delivering a baby and it looked like you tried to hide it, we do have to have the police involved.
And nothing was crying. It came out with nothing.
I know. But the baby's gonna have to be taken for autopsy and there'll be an investigator and everything.
Treviso has since been charged with first-degree murder and tampering with evidence. Her case is set to go to trial in August of next year. Heading west now to Las Vegas, where a suspect is charged in the murder of famed rapper Tupac Shakur decades after his death.
27 years. 27 years. For 27 years, the family of Tupac Shakur has been waiting for justice. We are here today to announce the arrest of 60-year-old Dwayne Keith Davis, a.k.a. Keefy D, for the murder of Tupac Shakur. Davis was arrested this morning by my LVMPD criminal apprehension team, and this investigation started on the night of September 7th, 1996. It is far from over.
In September, Dwayne Keefy D. Davis was arrested for the drive-by shooting that killed Shakur in 1996. Prosecutors say Davis's charge of murder with a deadly weapon in a gang enhancement can be applied to those who assist in the murder, not just the person who pulled the trigger. Davis has long been on investigators' radar, previously describing himself as a witness to the deadly shooting.
But the moment it was announced that Tupac passed away, what was your reaction and what was Orlando's reaction?
And we ain't gonna let them see us sweat, you know what I'm saying? That's giving away the city, you know what I'm saying? It's like telling ourselves, let me see them sweat, you know?
Nearly 30 years after Shakur's death, Davis was taken into custody.
Hey, Keith, Metro Police, come over here. Hey, Metro Police, come over here, all right? Thanks, buddy. Come on over here. Appreciate your cooperation, okay? I'll stand right here in front of the car. Yep. Nope, we're going to put it down. I know, hang on. Put that down for a second, all right?
You got another on your right?
Hooks. You have anything on you, sir?
No.
Thirsty? Okay, yeah, we'll get you a drink. Hang on, all right? Just want to make sure you got no weapons on you or anything, okay? I'll separate the two, sir. Thank you. Put your palms together like you're clapping. I just want to make sure these cuffs can be all right on you.
Yep.
Davis has since pleaded not guilty to the charge. He's being held in jail as he awaits his jury trial, expected to begin on June 3rd, 2024. But Davis's arrest wasn't the only high-profile one years in the making. This summer, New York authorities announced the arrest of Rex Heuermann, the man they say is responsible for the Gilgo Beach murders, a series of crimes spanning more than a decade in Long Island.
I'm standing here with my law enforcement partners in the Gilgo Task Force to announce the indictment of defendant Rex Andrew Heuermann, 59 years of age.
Rex Heuermann is a demon that walks among us, a predator that ruined families.
Heuermann is now charged in the murders of Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello, who were all working as escorts at the time of their murders. He's also the prime suspect in the murder of another escort, Maureen Brainerd Barnes.
We took analysts, we took detective investigators, and they worked on a daily basis with other talented investigators from all of the agencies here. We started that in February 1st in 2022. 6 weeks later, on March 14th, 2022, the name Rex Heuermann was first mentioned as a suspect in the Gilgo case.
According to court documents, investigators recovered a pizza box Heuermann threw away in January 2023. The Suffolk County Crime Lab analyzed a piece of leftover crust, connecting it to Heuermann. Investigators compared that DNA with a hair found on one of the victims and found a match.
Rex Heuermann is a demon that walks among us, a predator that ruined families. If not for the members of this task force, he would still be out in the streets today. However, even with this arrest, we're not done. There's more work to do in this investigation regarding the other victims of the Gilgo Beach bodies that were discovered.
Investigators say more charges could be on the way for Heuermann as they work to tie additional victims to his case. He's pleaded not guilty to the charges and is due back in court on February 6th. That was a look at some of the top cases of 2023. As we move into 2024, stay with Law&Crime Network for even more shocking arrests and the cases that follow them. Reporting for Law&Crime Network, I'm Gillespie.